Week 4, coming off a very exciting but chaotic Week 3. I guess first let's talk about like how poorly we both did. You did less poorly than me, so that's nice. You went 7-9. I was 5-11. So if you took any gambling tips from me, I am sorry. Just know that I'd be just as broke were I a gambler. It was a very just weird week. We don't really have time necessarily to break down every single thing that happened, but if you watched last week, you're aware that there were a lot of upsets. So looking forward to an exciting week 4 as well. There's some more great matchups here. So getting into that, for the Thursday night game, we've got Dallas at the New York Giants. I see this as kind of a get-right game for Dallas after a disappointing, actually kind of 2 weeks, but specifically a disappointing week against Baltimore. And then, they dominated New York last year. I think it was like a combined 80-12 or something like that at the end of the season, some ludicrous thing. And I look to them to continue that dominance. Maybe not on that level, but to some level. On the other side of this, New York's coming off a nice win against Cleveland. They really like their rookie wide receiver, Malik Neighbors, and they should. I got to watch him a bit, and he's an exciting young player. So I am excited to see what he does moving forward. I need him to not look too much better than Marvin Harrison Jr. because I'm biased like that. But he does look really good. I would still pick Dallas here for this one. But I think the Giants might make it a slightly better showing than last year. I'm picking Dallas. I don't know why my head got all mixed up there.
You almost went with the Giants there.
Yeah, like, hold on a second. But I could see this one being a little bit closer. I feel like Dallas might not be quite as dominant right this second. Maybe they pull it together later in the season. When you look at this one, what do you see?
I think if I was not a Dallas fan on this one, this would be my pick of the upset for the week. Obviously Dallas is not playing the level of football that we expected from them. They definitely have a problem on the running game, as we talked about in our recap of that game. Devin Singletary to me is not a extremely great running back, but he may have a great game against Dallas. And so I'm picking Dallas, but I am no longer extremely confident against anyone. I would like, I think you put it best. That is the ideal state for me, is that we have a get right game. We figure out the issues. I'm just going to say it again. We have a little bit of commitment to the run by our coaching staff, which would be cool. I don't care if we know everybody's names or don't know their names, just like to see them run. So that's my pick. I'm going to stick with that one. What I think might be a more entertaining game, actually, is the Atlanta-New Orleans game. I think New Orleans surprised me there a little bit. They had so much momentum, and of course they embarrassed the Cowboys handily. Going into their game with the Eagles, I was kind of like, here they go. They had a bit of a step back, but I still feel like they're a really good team. Atlanta's had an interesting schedule so far, and they've looked pretty good. I'm actually going to take Atlanta in this game. I think that they're going to ride some positive momentum forward and work out a few of the strange problems that they had, I think, in their game against the Chiefs. And that's kind of the direction I'm going with that one. Where do you think you're going on that one?
Same, oddly enough. I think that New Orleans' running game can get stymied a bit by a really good run defense, and Atlanta's at least got a solid one. They still seem to be coming into form. I don't want to discredit them too much for the loss against Kansas City, because Kansas City still has a really good defense. I don't want to forget that. So, I mean, they were, again, a couple of missed plays or maybe a missed call here or there or whatever, away from beating Kansas City. So I think Atlanta is coming into form. We'll see. This will be a good chance for them to prove it, division win and all that, if they can get it. If not, if the Saints win, it'd be, another great statement for them. Maybe they're riding their ship. But I'm going to be with you on that one and take Atlanta. We'll see what Atlanta can do. Looking at the next one, we got the Rams at Chicago. Two very different teams at different points in their life cycles. So the Rams are coming off a great win against the Niners. I'm certainly happy about that, just because it keeps my entire division kind of down at approachable levels. No one but the Seahawks separated themselves. And Chicago is still figuring things out. Their defense is very solid, but their offense is not there yet. So mainly their offensive line, I should say, seems to be the issue. The Rams don't have a great pass rush, and they don't have a great defense at all. This might be a good game for Caleb Williams to get right, but Matt Stafford just doesn't want to lose. So I think for this game, I'm actually going to choose the Rams. It kind of hurts me to say, but I'm hoping, honestly, hoping that the Bears find a way to figure it out, that Caleb Williams continues to ascend just little by little, and they can sort this one out. But as you look at this one, what's your thinking for it?
Yeah, this is going to be my crazier pick, I think. I'm actually going to take Chicago over the Rams. I think Rams, as we've talked about, are still, uh, I'm not even 100% sure what they are when they're completely healthy, since we haven't really seen that. But obviously they're not. So while they did pick up an impressive win against the Niners, I kind of think that the Bears have figured out a few things. One of the things that they figured out is they're a pretty good defense. Now it's just, as you were saying, can they keep Caleb alive, and can they figure out a few things on offense? I guess I'm picking them to do that this week a little bit. Give him more than half a second to think, so that he can make some decisions and get the ball down to their talented wide receiver core. So yeah, I'm hoping to see them come out and make a move. It will be it will be in Chicago, so should be an interesting game up there. Maybe one of the best games. I feel like my emotions on this next game have gone up and down all season, which is Minnesota at Green Bay. I think at the beginning of the season, I'd have said, "Oh man, Green Bay is going to run over Minnesota." And then after a week or two, Jordan went down after the first game. I thought, "Oh man, Minnesota's got a game here." And then it was, wait a second, Minnesota's a pretty darn good team. Now all of a sudden I'm thinking this is probably a really good game, because Malik has done a good job in Green Bay. I don't think we know at this point in time if Jordan's quite going to be all the way back. But either way, right now it looks like, regardless of which one of them is going to be the quarterback, should be a good game one way or the other. Green Bay coming off their win over Tennessee. So yeah, I think I'm going to pick Minnesota in this one, even though I just talked up Green Bay. I feel like they've got an unusual number of things working for them. I still am not 100% sure of why, Darnold's found his home. Like, he's just like, hey, this place is great, and everything seems to be working for him. I don't see that slowing down. So as much as I think Green Bay is playing great football, until Minnesota proves that they can lose, I'm probably sticking with them for a while. Save my risky pick away from them. So, what about you? You taking a risk here?
Not if you mean taking Green Bay on this one. No, I'll take Minnesota as well. I agree with everything you said about Green Bay. They're getting the run game going with Josh Jacobs and such, and Malik Willis adding in his own element of the run game, because he's more mobile than he was able to show at Tennessee, and the limited snaps that he took there. They never really cut him loose. It didn't feel like. And here it's just go for it, man. You know this is a limited time deal. We got a $55 million quarterback who's coming back. So I think that he makes up for some of his lack of throwing talent with his legs, which, hey, you got to do what you got to do. I will say that they're suggesting there's a decent chance that Jordan Love comes back and plays this game, but emphasizing there's virtually no way he is 100%. Mm-hmm. So either way, being a divisional matchup and everything, and just the way Sam Darnold is playing right now, if the season ended, he's probably the MVP, which is something I never thought I'd hear myself say. But I've got to just give them the edge right now until kind of proven otherwise. So hats off to him. But I was sticking with Minnesota for this one. For Pittsburgh and Indianapolis, This one will kind of hurt just a little bit because in my mind I've been kind of rooting for Indianapolis because I really like Anthony Richardson. I really like some of the stuff he's done. But someone just finally came out and said it. And I think it was a mainstream media outlet, they finally pointed out, it's like, you know what? Judge is going to say it. Anthony Richardson's not playing well. Like, he's just really not. Like, he can make the 65-yard bomb, but then he'll throw from, me to the living room, and it's just completely wide left. And it's just not looking good. And I hope that it's solvable problems and that this is not, dare I say, a bust long term. And I have confidence in their coaching, in their, the staff around there, that they can do their best to develop him more and more. And he seems like a hardworking guy who's going to just hammer down on that. And it took Josh Allen 3 years, or well, into his third season, but where he was actually elite at the mid-level passing. So this is only Anthony Richardson, second year, yada yada. I don't mean to give up hope on him. And on the other side of this is about the best we've seen Justin Fields look, and I think he's only got 1 or 2 touchdown passes on the year. But that's not really the point with Pittsburgh. The point with Pittsburgh is right now that Steelers defense is firing on all cylinders and then some. And I think they're going to get after old Anthony Richardson quite a bit. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh here, even in Indianapolis, to win this one. So do you see this one any different?
No, I think I agree with you, and I find that surprising. I get similarly, like I kind of felt like Indianapolis at the beginning of the season was going to come in and take off a little bit, and hasn't worked out that way. I can definitely see this being both kind of I guess seeing Justin Fields as being the more mature quarterback is an unusual thing to say. But that's kind of how I feel, is that I think he's the one who's going to potentially make fewer mistakes, make the shorter right play, all of those kind of things. I also feel like the potential for this to end up being another running game between the two might also play out. So yeah, no, I'm definitely sticking with Pittsburgh in this one for those reasons. It could be a pretty interesting defensive game to watch and see how that plays out. I could also see one big play on defense changing the outcome of this one as well. Moving forward, though, to the Denver at the Jets game. The Jets come off of the job they should have done in New England, which is what they did. Very convincing win. I think that's the kind of game we're expecting from the Jets. It just seemed very clean. And then Denver, I think there were a ton of positives to the Denver game. Obviously, I had I definitely got this one wrong in my picks last week. Gave them no chance against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay had been running on all cylinders. They looked great. I think there were a lot of positives about Bo Nix and his progression as an NFL quarterback. I probably can't talk too much about how good they really were comparative to how they had been playing. So even with that being said, I think the Jets are a straight the obvious choice on this one. I'll stick with them. I just think for this game to go wrong, you need Aaron Rodgers to have one of those really bad games that he really just doesn't have much. So that's where I'm on that one. You looking the same, or where are you at on Denver?
Pretty much. I am happy to see Bo Nix developing more and more, getting more comfortable, getting NFL timing down and such. But Aaron doesn't need any help with that. So, I mean, if anything, he just needed to get right coming into the season because he really hasn't played much in the last 18 months. But he seems like he's coming into Aaron Rodgers form. So that on top of I trust New York's defense a lot more than Denver's defense, and just kind of across the board, this would be shocking if somehow Denver could pull this off. This would be one of the biggest upsets of the week for me, even though I think it's 1-2 versus 2-1. But still, it should be tipped in the Jets' favor here. So, it'll be interesting to see how much. I don't know. One thing I'm intrigued by is how much more will the Jets lean on the run game. It's been kind of a fun storyline to see how much they use Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. So, I'm looking forward to seeing them. So next, I've got Philadelphia, Tampa. A little confused after last week, but I'm going to kind of just suggest that maybe Tampa ran into a bad matchup for them. Like they just couldn't get any pressure on Bo Nix. And so that's kind of what led to their unraveling. And Philadelphia's defense really showed up, but their offense is still not firing. I think until they get A.J. Brown back, they're not going to probably be all that elite. So I'm actually going to pick Tampa here. Tampa also had their number last year in the playoffs. So I think this one could be like quite possibly even a shootout to some degree, maybe not in the 30s, but even just like the mid to high 20s, maybe inching into 30. So I'm going to take Tampa here, even though I do think that typically um, Philly's the better team. But I think that Tampa's going to find a way on this one. So, what about you?
No, I'm going with you on Tampa. I think Baker said it after the game that that was a humbling experience, right? And that makes me feel like he's going to be very, very prepared for this game. The Eagles did not look good on offense, right? As you pointed out, their defense looked just fine. They gave up 12 points. But their offense did not look good. And the whole thing about A.J. Brown, obviously he's a huge force on offense, but I feel like right now the Eagles look incredibly exposed on offense, that if A.J. Brown is the only thing they have, then we know what to take away. And obviously they have Saquon, but if you can focus on those two areas, they're going to be a little bit anemic on offense. Saquon really saved them in that game, very literally. Do I think he's going to do that against the Bucks? It's hard to know. Like it's just hard to guess that. But my bet's going to be on the Bucks, especially playing at home. Cincinnati playing at Carolina. Cincinnati has been a very odd team. I was not anticipating them to start the season 0-3. With that being said, I feel like on offense they're figuring some things out, but I'm still shocked that they had things to figure out in the first place. I don't really understand why they're having some of the struggles they're having. It's hard to have a lot of faith in them. With all of that being said, I still have roughly zero faith in Carolina, even after their win. Andy Dalton came out and did what I had kind of expected, which was just showed a completely different look. He looked probably one of the best that I've seen. I think that Adam Thielen and the crew there are really relieved to see him in the games because now they look better. They look competent. And I think as a lot of people look at this as a huge step back for Bryce Young, I kind of think that this is probably the best thing that could happen in his career if he will learn from Andy Dalton a number of good NFL lessons. So yeah, I still will pick Cincinnati. With that being said, I think Carolina could make this a game now. So yeah, that's kind of my expectation is for this not to be a blowout, but that Cincinnati will pull it out.
Yeah, kind of the same as you. Cincinnati's offense seems to be working quite well, but Cincinnati's defense just seems to be in shambles. Washington on Monday night just kind of had their way with them. Right now it looks like Jane Daniels is the rookie of the year, so we'll see how that goes looking forward. But it's their defense is clearly having a problem. If Dallas is having a problem with the run defense, Cincinnati's having a problem with defense. I expect this one to be kind of a high-scoring game. It looks like Vegas is as well. I don't trust Andy Dalton to consistently keep shooting his shot and it coming up heads every time. I think he's going to keep shooting his shot. He's going to keep on slinging them all. By the way, I think Adam Thielen got hurt toward the end of that last game, so I don't know for how long. I don't think he tore something, anything like that, but I do think that he's probably going to miss some time. And he could be kind of a stabilizing factor in their games. So while I am tempted to pick Carolina in this one, it's old Red Rifles homecoming and all that stuff, I'm going to stick with Cincinnati here and just trust that the better team is the better team. But we will see. And if it's not, some part of me is hoping that Carolina wins because if Cincinnati can get bad enough, they might start trading off some assets and the Cardinals could use some stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm going to take Cincinnati. So for the last game in the early bracket, we've got Jacksonville at Houston. I think we could probably make this like a 20-second segment where I'm taking Houston. You'll probably take Houston, and we'll say yeah, because Jacksonville looks
Yeah,
like they suck right now, and
there
yeah,
you
I
go.
think that'd be pretty apt. But truth of the matter is, Houston is not quite the team I thought they were going to be. We'll see if
Yep.
Joe Mixon can come back. Last I saw is they're kind of expecting him to play, and if so, that just further emphasizes that they should win this one. Jacksonville doesn't seem to have much of anything working right now, and obviously that's a huge problem. They could be heading back towards the top 5 pick in the draft next year, which will probably cost jobs. People are talking about, oh, they should call Bill Belichick now and just get a head start on everything. I was like, yeah, they're not necessarily that far off, but that'll be interesting. So I'll definitely pick Houston here. Houston's defense continues to turn heads. It is clearly not their problem. They need to stay healthy on offense and definitely the offensive line because their O line's not great. But if it loses a couple starters, it's going to become a real problem. So just like every team needs their O line to stay healthy, that includes them. But um, yeah, they really need it. So what's your take on this one?
No, same as you. I think that um, Jacksonville just seems so lost. It almost appears to me like their coaching staff doesn't know what's wrong. Just nothing's working. I say nothing's working. You pointed this out actually at their last game, which is that Travis Etienne actually has done pretty well. I think he's done all right. I'm a little surprised that they haven't leaned on him more. Like I get it, you're getting blown out 40 points, but I just if you're going to get blown out, that's okay. Like it stinks, but do the things that work. Don't go and put people in positions they're not built for. I'd like to see some of these teams that are already struggling not do things outside of their comfort zone. I think it just makes them look worse than they are. So I'd be interested to see them try to play a little bit more balanced on offense, but they have nothing on defense. They seem lost. So no, Houston should handle that. And every time we say that, it basically sets that team up to lose. So we'll see how they play that out. But I'm picking Houston anyway.
Yeah.
With that being said, taking a look over at Washington, heading down to visit the Cardinals. Washington obviously had a fun day versus the Bengals. Jaden Daniels had a great showing. I'm sure he's anxious to start doing that. Of course, what concerns me the most about him is his propensity to look to run. Um, we were talking about Kaiser White before. Like he's a scary guy to think about spying quarterbacks and meeting you in midfield and all of that. So I'm already anxiously waiting to hear that Jaden has taken one too many tackle he shouldn't. But I think it could end up being a pretty good game. The Cardinals obviously coming off again the loss to the Lions. Look to see them get back to a more balanced offense. I'd love to see James Conner run 18 plus times and all of that. So yeah, I'm sticking with Arizona on this one. I'm kind of expecting them to win that uh, convincingly. Convincingly. What about you? Are you sticking with the home team?
Yeah. Coming into the first quarter of the year, the first 4 games, this was the one game where I was like, we should be able to win this game just because Washington shouldn't be quite there yet. They have proven to be a little bit more there than I thought they would be, but I still don't really trust them. Um, Jaden Daniels does look good, but he also just took some kind of ridiculous chances. Like that long touchdown pass to Terry McLaurin, he just kind of pitched it up, and I mean it was a great pass. But watching the play, I'm like, did he really know where that ball was going?
Yeah.
Maybe he did. Maybe he knew exactly where it was going, but it worked out, so power to him. But a lot went right for them in that game. I feel like our game was where a lot went wrong. So um, I will pick the Cardinals with actually some level of confidence here. The main reason why we need to win this game is silly. It's almost personal. It's because our previous head coach is their offensive coordinator now, and if we lose to him and drop to 1-3, well, he takes a rookie and
Yeah.
goes to 3-1. It's going to make me question. all of our coaches and all of our choices. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
this is for most Cardinals fans, this is a must win, having nothing to do with our record. It's just we have to win this game. So that being said, we should be able to get right. We have every opportunity to get right before this game and heading into it. So um, I do look forward to this one, but there's just a little bit of anxiety because if we lose it, I'm going to explode. So, so that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Next, we've got a game that should be a blowout, but I'm less confident will be a blowout. It is New England at San Francisco. Now, they should be in some get right game themselves, that being San Francisco, but they're starting to miss a lot of guys. And right now, San Francisco is favored by 10. And I'm just like, now that I'm giving them 10. I think I'll pick them to win this game, but I'm not giving them 10 points. So San Francisco is it's quite simple. They're hurt. Like they are still the team they should be structurally or schematically. They just don't have the pieces right now with so many players going down. They are struggling. They need to keep their head above water, get guys healthy. We'll see if this Christian McCaffrey in Germany thing works. But once they can get that, they should return to form and be the San Francisco that we remember. I'm hoping they wait until after next week when the Cardinals play them to get right, but they should have more than enough to beat New England. New England they still have a pretty good defense, but as the year wanes on, their defense is going to slow down like everyone's defense slows down, and they're going to get really exposed you just have no offense, I think. Mm-hmm. It's only week 4, but that could start to happen pretty quick. So we'll see. Is there anything standing out to you about this one?
I mean, no, not in the sense of who's going to win it. I mean, San Francisco should win that one. I think it's almost sad that New England's already found a way to win a game this year. Jacoby Brissett, I mean, they're not a good team. Their offensive line is not good. But when you have a team that's losing like this, if you're a New England fan, it's like, well, at least we're going to get to see our backup quarterback. Who knows? Maybe, and it's like they just don't have anything. I feel like it's going to be a rough go of it. The 49ers are injured, and I still don't think that'll make this a close game. I kind of expect the Niners to beat them. I'm not sure that it's a get-right game in that sense because I'm not sure what they'll even learn about themselves. I would expect against this team. They're hurting on all areas. It seems like similar to Jacksonville in a lot of ways, but that quarterback play has been concerning for sure. So I don't expect this one to be a close game. I'll definitely pick San Francisco. What another game that I think will be interesting is Cleveland and Las Vegas. Cleveland coming off a loss to the Giants, which is saying something. I like losing to the Giants right now is a real statement to how bad your offense really is. I think Neighbors went off and all that, and I appreciate that. But that's really, I don't know what the Browns are going to do on offense right now. I don't know where they're at. I don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to make any progress. Vegas has had a number of things working. The Raiders, I think, are actually kind of getting some better. I think even with that, neither one of these teams looks great right now. And I would still pick Las Vegas to pull this one off. I think that Cleveland, only really has their defense working. I don't think it's enough to make this a winnable game for them. That's my guess. What's your take?
Yeah, about the same. Vegas is kind of wishy-washy. Just who's going to show up. We used to talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick. I was like, who's going to show up? Good Ryan or bad Ryan? Fitzmagic or Fitztragic? And Vegas is that as an entire team. And so, they've got some great players, but as a collective, they just fail to use that person or something. It's weird to have a week where Brock Bowers has 100 yards and then I don't didn't remember hearing much about him at all from week 2. And it may have just been overshadowed by losing to Carolina, which is the appropriate headline. But yeah, and then Cleveland just continues. They're the exact same abysmal they've been all year. So I don't know what they're going to do in Cleveland. There's a figuring out that I'm not even sure that they're capable of figuring out. So I know this is getting monotonous, but I'm going to stick with you here and take Las Vegas. We'll see. I don't guess I'd be entirely surprised if Cleveland managed to pull this one off if bad Raiders show up, but I think they should be good enough, even at mediocre, to somehow pull it off. So we'll see. After that, we've got, Kansas City at the LA Chargers. Everyone's still looking for Kansas City to finally lose one. I'm not sure this is the one. I do like some of what the Chargers are doing, but I don't think they're ready to contend with a powerhouse like Kansas City yet. Their run game is their strength. Kansas City's done quite well against the run, if memory serves. So it just feels like kind of a bad matchup. Vegas would agree. Yeah, they're favoring Kansas City by 8.5 in LA. So they think that they're just going to mop the floor with them. We'll see if Kansas City can kind of get their offense completely going. They've been winning games kind of by the skin of their teeth, and we'll see if they can kind of actually have a complete game. This would be a good week to do it for them, just kind of prove a point. And LA can afford to lose games. They're already exceeding expectations a little bit. So, not saying they should just rest on their laurels. I just mean that I think they'll have kind of an excuse for this one. So, I'm going to pick Kansas City, and again, kind of a predictable one. But it'd be fun to see the Chargers pull this one off, but I just don't see it. What about you?
No, again, very, very same on this one. I don't. They're 2-1 team, and I appreciate that, but I don't see them having enough going right now to mount enough against Kansas on an okay day. Which I think the Falcons are a little maligned. I think they're a better team than their current record suggests, but the Chiefs got the win there. That's probably the right way of saying that. I expect them to show up and figure some new things out. Pat does not like to lose, and I don't think he'll have to work hard to find a way to win there. Here's another game I'm not 100% sure where to be at is the Buffalo at Baltimore game. I mean, the simple way of looking at it is Buffalo. Buffalo's that team where it's like, man, until they find a way to lose one, I probably am just sticking with them on picks. At the beginning of the season, I think we'd have all said, wow, Buffalo-Baltimore, that's going to be a great game. Baltimore has had some struggles. And I will be interested to see how they play that out. Can what has now become the run offense of Baltimore compete with Buffalo's just, Josh Allen willing himself to wins week after week? Right now, they just look really hard to beat. It will be in Baltimore, so that's something to take into consideration. I expect Buffalo to pull a win off here. Do you see Baltimore coming away with it?
In short, yeah. I'm almost picking them just for the sake of differing from you on one. But it is almost a coin toss, just who's going to win this game. I will say, when the Cardinals played against the Bills, we were able to run the ball when we were running the ball. Kind of had to give up on that a little later, but when we were running, we were, and they can certainly run just as well as we can, if not better. So I would expect to see a heavy dose of, almost said Hunter Henry, Derrick Henry, but we'll see. Questionably, can Baltimore's defense slow down Josh Allen and company much? And that, like I said, it's the big if. But I will take Baltimore here just to shake things up. But yeah, so that'll be a fun game. It's a good Sunday night finisher for that day. So moving into Monday night, there are two good games. Well, there's two games. There's one good game, and there's two total games. Tennessee at Miami. Tennessee has this incredible luck of running into teams that have backup quarterbacks, and they keep letting those chances slip through their fingers. Um, so, yet again, I believe we're still on Skylar Thompson. I know that
Mhm.
Tua is still on IR, so it should still just be Skylar Thompson. Um, I'm not really scared of him, but I'm really not scared of much anything on Tennessee either. I'll take Tennessee in this one just because I think that they may have just enough. If they can get Tony Pollard going and stick with the run game a little bit, God forbid, and if Will Levis can just keep his insanity in check for a half, they've got a solid chance of winning this game. But that's a big if. As much as this probably won't be a good game, it will be an entertaining game. I have a feeling, and there'll be some highlights and some what we're
Yeah.
thinking, what was he thinking kind of thing. So, what about you on this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Tennessee, and I think the biggest single reason for that, because you just pointed out Will Levis's ability to do the craziest thing that he can find, and mixed with the Tennessee's coaching staff refusal to run Tony Pollard, which is like, well, why don't you just send him back to Dallas? We could use him. Um, couldn't we though? It's Skylar's play in Miami that I think is the most convincing. That was a convincing. This guy's starting from scratch. They have nothing at quarterback. So yeah, I think Tennessee pulls it off. I think the other encouraging thing for Tennessee that did happen in their loss to Green Bay was that DeAndre Hopkins at moments had plays that looked like the old DeAndre Hopkins. And I mean, obviously they need him desperately given the circumstances. So I expect to see more of him, a lot more probably, and just see where that goes. But I don't think they need to do a lot to win. I just think they need to stop trying to lose, which would be cool to see. Um, all right. Last but not least, it's Seattle at Detroit. Um, Seattle's kind of an odd one for me. They obviously have had a good start. They have not played a lot of great teams. They're going to play a pretty good one this week. I don't expect them to come out of this 4-0. So I expect Detroit to win this one. Again, that's not to try to take anything away from the Seahawks. They have found, again, the Dolphins is not a great example of a high quality win, but they find that right now they're finding the ways to win, and they're not doing the big mistakes to lose. With that being said, Detroit is a much more well rounded team. They've played much more difficult opponents. At least I think so. Um, so I expect them to come away with the win there. I think their defense will kind of solve the question marks, I suppose, from Seattle's side. Where are you going on that one? You think they can pull it off against Seattle?
Yeah, I think Detroit can win this one. The Cardinals were able to keep Aiden Hutchinson down to one sack. If he gets going, though, like anything like what he did against Tampa, he's going to wreck that game. I think their offense is starting to get going. Their run game works well. Their pass game was decisive. Um, well, I wouldn't necessarily call it insanely prolific. They kind of let the foot off the gas in the second half, so I think they could have done more damage had they wanted to. Excuse me. So while Seattle has done a good job in the trenches on both sides of the ball, I don't trust them to beat a team like Detroit if Detroit's playing anywhere near what they're capable of. They've been kind of eking out close wins against pretty modest or even bad teams. So I do think, and yes, I'm trying to take my absolute loathing for Seattle into account here, but I do think Detroit will pull this one out in Detroit, um, and that'll kind of right the ship for them, put them back on the projection of where they're supposed to be. I mean, Detroit's supposed to be this NFC Championship bound team, and that should kind of put them back in that spotlight. So I think they're going to be ready for that. So I'll pick Detroit to close out. So should be another good week. Excited to see how it turns out. Hopefully, I'm not crying again next Sunday night.
Yeah, you and me both. You and me both. Sounds good. We'll see what plays out.